Oh, dang. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was saying I've been getting really into this idea of how much people let their emotions affect their actions. And for me, it's like, and this is just kind of the theory that has been working for me and what I found makes a little bit more logical sense for me, right? Is it's like I have I get what you're saying about you're not trying to directly compete with other people, but there is still a level of competition in everything, right? Like no matter what you like, if you're trying to be successful in real estate or if you're trying to be a successful coach and all these other things, right? Like there are other, like there is competition in those industries, right? So if you want to get to top dog in any of those areas, like there is going to be, yeah, you do have to focus on yourself, obviously, and you have to do the right things, but you are going to have to outwork other people and, you know, kind of
I
there is a slight level of competition, right? And so I say that to mean for me, it's like I have sort of an outline for what I want in life, right? It's like I'm 25 now. I like to think about the idea of, if you're whatever, if you're 18, 25, 35, 45, whatever it is, what is the lifestyle that you want to live, right? And that's kind of what I like to think about a lot, right? And it's like I definitely have and I want to make, certain impacts in life and, help other people and impact other people in certain ways. And, I have sort of this plan for my life, right? Like I know what I want my life to look like when I'm, 35 or 45 or 55 or whatever it is. And like I said, your brain knows the right things for you to do to achieve that. The problem is we let our immediate emotions overcome the actions that we know we need to do in order to get there, right? So it's like when you wake up in the morning, a lot of people know the time that they should get up to achieve what they want to achieve in that day, right? But when you wake up and you're tired, it's very easy to ignore the action that you know you should take and say, well, I'm tired today, so well, I'll just sleep in today. I'll just sleep in right now. Or, you know, oh, I know I shouldn't eat the donut. I know I should go eat, some eggs and, whatever, or a better breakfast, some eggs and fruit or whatever. I know I shouldn't slack off at work, or I know I shouldn't, put that off till tomorrow. But it's so easy for us to feel like not doing it. Whereas if you can just say, no, nah, you know what, like like if I truly want to achieve this, my feelings don't matter. It's the actions that I take that actually matter, that are actually going to get me there. And I think that goes along with discipline as well, which is something else that I've been getting really into lately is um you know, Jocko Willink has this quote. I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this, but discipline equals freedom. And I've truly started to kind of understand that more as I've gotten more disciplined and as I've started to think more like my diet is completely different than it was 6 months ago. I
mm,
eat no carbs, I eat no sugar. My diet is literally like it's basically like an ancient diet. Like I eat anything that comes from the earth and nothing that doesn't pretty much. It's like fruit, meat, and vegetables, and maybe some nuts, and that is it. Like that's
mm.
all I eat. That's my entire diet. And when I go out with other people or whatever, it's like, yeah, I kind of want to, you know, eat bad or whatever. On Fridays or Saturdays, I want to like eat a pizza or go get ice cream or whatever. But every time I do that, I end up feeling so much worse on the back end. And I'm like, nah,
Mm.
you know what? It's like, it's so much better. Like the goals that I have for what I want to look like and what I want to feel and the sleep that I want to get and where I'm going in life, like there's time for that later, right? Like now is the time to be disciplined when I need to, when I'm not maybe living like the ideal life that I want to. So it's like I can be disciplined now and instill those habits. And then on the back end of that is the like kind of freedom and happiness that everybody's looking for.
But I would recommend instead of like trying to do these things to like sacrifice and not live the way you want to now, like why not just do what you want to do now? Because consistency is going to get you where you want to go.
Well, I think so. It's this idea of like what is gonna get like I'm also like I've also been really thinking about this idea of happiness lately, true too, right?
Okay.
So it's like what is happiness and do we actually need happiness? And is that the most important thing? Like, would you rather be happy or would you rather be like fulfilled? Like, it's not possible to be happy 24/7, right? Like, nobody is happy all the time. So, should you really seek happiness or should you seek something above happiness, right? Like, for me, it's like, I I almost now enjoy the diet that I'm on because I know what the results are going to be. And I'm more like, I want the results more than I want to eat the ice cream or more than
Yeah.
I want to eat the pizza. It's like, yeah, I might want the pizza or the ice cream on the Saturday night. And I'm not going to lie, I'd break my diet here and there. Like, I'll still have my cheat meals, but I've drastically reduced how often I take them.
Mm-hmm.
And the results of that to me are so much better than that slight little immediate gratification that I'm in the long run, on the tail end of it, I'm so much happier than I would have been if I would just,
Have the
blow it
cheat
off
meal.
every time. It's almost like that social media thing that we were talking about, right? It's like, to me, like I view almost like the carbs and the sugars and the pizzas and things like that. Like
Mm,
I do that as the social media in the like diet world for me, right? So it's like
right.
I've been more obsessed with like some of these things, right? Where it's like you it's like, do you want the result or do you want the thing that you think you want in the moment?
Well, I
Like
think
we're
you just start getting more clear on what you actually want. And your want is whatever you want your body to look like or whatever. And that want is bigger than the want of ice cream or pizza. So to me, I think that's really the goal. And what I always try to do for myself and other people is like, let's sit down, let's clear everything out, and let's figure out who do you really want to be? What do you really want? And once that want is big enough, then when these other things come in, you get to decide. Like, even for me and my coaching, it's like, okay, well, I want to be making more money and all this. And like, but my coaching is a bigger want because at any point I could say, you know what, I'm not going to do coaching. I'm going to go back to being an engineer and making, 15,000 a month easily in the drop of a hat. But I know that I want the coaching so much more than just the money, right? So it's like, no, that's not even an option for me. Like at the first when I started getting coaching, it's like, wow, that's so nice. I could go back, I could get that guarantee. And I actually had those thoughts in my head. But now, like, because I love the coaching stuff so much that like that's not even thoughts in my like it doesn't ever cross my brain. Because my want, I've identified my want and it's so much stronger, so now it's pulling me towards what you actually want to do on a daily basis. So I would say it's more maybe of that than, you have to sacrifice and discipline. It's just getting so clear on your wants. Like, hey, if you want to run 3 miles, that means that you don't stop at mile one, right? Because you know that you want to get 3 miles. So, and I think you were talking too that I think so many people are relying on their old habits and old way of thinking, and they literally have programmed their body to take over their life, that they're no longer even thinking. They're just like, I feel this way, and when I feel this way, this is what my body does, right? I feel depressed, I feel whatever. So I get out of bed the same way. I go do the exact same things. I do the exact same things. So you're never getting kicked out of that cycle of when I'm depressed, my body does this. And because my body does this, now I'm depressed. And like you just stay in this cycle. And so that's why my whole coaching thing is like creating change, because the only way you can get to a new mindset, to get to a new person, whatever, is you have to have change. And I was even talking about this on my Instagram. Like I was telling you earlier, that when I go for a run, I don't want to run the same route. I will go down like, oh, here's a road I haven't ran down yet. I'm going to run down this. I want to have some sort of change every single day, because if I'm changing, then I'm changing my mind and I'm changing my behaviors and I'm changing into a better version of myself. So, anyway.
Yeah, that's actually you know what? I'm gonna grab a notebook actually real quick. No, literally, I had this I have my notebook in my work bag because I bring this with me like I mean most places that I go. Um and I literally use it to just write down like honestly anything that I think is valuable or that I might like want to remember, whether it's like a new business idea or business plans, or just like if I'm thinking about like a
Yeah.
certain, topic or whatever. I'm literally just gonna write down like change every day.
Yeah. And
Uh,
it can be the simplest thing. Like I forgot what I was
yeah.
reading. Some study was saying if you want to develop something, start thinking what you want, and while you're thinking what you want, brush your teeth with your left hand, and it'll
Dude,
stick so much more.
I literally, dude, I can't believe how freaking crazy the world is. I literally started purposely doing things with my left hand like probably 2 weeks ago. Like I just started doing stuff like that, like doing daily tasks with the other hand.
And that keeps you from being in a cycle of the same thing, the same person. And I think that's where so many people get fixated is like they feel so I don't even know what's the word, disempowered because
Well, I think so many people are living in this haze, right? Where they're going through these motions and like you talked about, like they've developed these habits to the point where they're not even 100% conscious of 90% of their day. They're just like they're on autopilot almost, right? They're on
100%.
autopilot and the conscious part of their brain is just sitting behind the wheel of the Tesla with their hands off. They're
Yeah.
there, but they're not really there. And I've been super obsessed with this idea about getting more present and being aware of as many moments throughout the day as possible. It's like, are
Mm,
you actually like it's almost hard to explain, but it's like, are you thinking
thinking.
about the things you're thinking about? Like, are
Yeah.
you aware of the things you're thinking about? Are you truly aware of the actions that you take each day? And I think that really goes back to like what you're saying about just changing a little bit each day, doing something new each day. Because if you're doing something new, you can't think the same that you were when you were doing things that aren't new.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the best point is, I mean, anyone that's done sales stuff is the best way to get successful in sales is get the person to think instead of just keeping them in their auto behavior of no, no, I'm not interested, whatever. And then you can be like, porcupines? And they're like, what? Now they're kicked out of their normal response of when they're talking to someone on the phone. They're always like, no, I'm putting up a wall. These are my behavioral patterns. That you need to do something to spark yourself to get out of that so that now, like you're talking about, okay, now I'm actually thinking, now I'm actually present in this moment in time and actually get to think and decide and be in freaking control of do I actually want to do this? Does this actually get me to my goal? Whereas before it'd be like, no, I don't like to run. I don't feel like running. I'm not going to run. Boom, porcupine. Oh, I want to get healthy. So yes, I'm going to run. And then you just go. So
Well, I like because like I said, I think so many people they don't even catch themselves in those moments when their brain is telling them, "Oh, I don't want to do this" or whatever.
yeah.
They just kind of like listen to it and blow past it, right? And I've worked a lot on training myself to catch those thoughts in the moment, right? So now whenever I because again, I'm gonna keep like hammering back to this. Your brain knows what you need to do. Like
Mm,
inside, deep down, you know the actions you need to do. You know the things you need to do. So when you're thinking about doing something that you know you need to do, and then your next thought is, but I don't feel like doing that. Oh, I don't want to do that. I've literally trained myself to catch myself in those moments. And it's almost like a light or a trigger that goes off when I'm like, oh, I need to do that work right now. I should do that work right now. And then I think, but I kind of want to get some food, or I'm kind of tired, or maybe I'll go do this. It's almost like a light that goes off. And I'm like, wait, if I know I need to do that and my brain is telling me something else, or I don't feel like doing it, then I know for a fact that I
yeah.
absolutely need to do that thing right there.
Yeah.
Like the last thing I can do is wait, because it's almost like I said, um it's almost like even better when my brain tells me, oh, I don't feel like doing that, because then I know for a fact, like, okay, that is absolutely the most
Yeah.
important thing that I need to do right now
You
in
don't let
order.
it win. Because
Yeah.
I think I love Joe Dispenza that he talks about when we're in these automatic stuff, like that's just our body being an animal. Like we're just a stupid little dog that we just have these trained behaviors, and our job is to finally get control of our mind back and get control of our body. Whereas I think that they even have studies of showing, like, I think it's when you're 35, they say by the time you're 35, 95% of your habits and routines and your mindset is already 95% of your daily things are predetermined. Like
Yeah.
you're checked out for 95%. How are you going to ever change those things if you only have 5% of yourself fighting against 95% of yourself? Like you're just kind of doomed, and it takes a lot to start to break those habits and get control of your body. And the other thing I want to say is I think I was at a Tony Robbins event, and or maybe not, but I'll give it to him, that anytime, not shouldn't, but anytime you think should, if it's should, you cross it out and it's a must. Like I should go to the gym. I must go to the gym. And that I do that a lot, and that works out like you were talking about, like, oh, because your brain, you do know what you should and shouldn't do. So anytime you think you should do something, be like, oh, I guess I must do this.
Yeah. Well, think about too, like just how crazy it is that we even have consciousness as humans, right? Like, what other species that we know about in the entire, solar system has the same level of consciousness as us? Nothing. And at a biological level, we are just part of the animal kingdom. Like we are animals on
We
a
still have
biological
that.
level. Like consciousness alone is so crazy. Like when you're talking about, by 35, most of your actions are predetermined. Well, most actions for every other living organism on earth are predetermined from day one.
Right.
Like it's so crazy that we even have the ability to think about consciousness. Like, a cat doesn't know it's a cat, a dog, a bear doesn't necessarily know it's a bear, but we have this ability to have consciousness and have awareness of what we are and what we're doing in life. And I think it can be really easy to kind of revert back to those, you know, biological systems
Yeah.
in our brain that, like I said, take us back to the animal kingdom where you have that routine, you build that routine. Like that's what like I said, at our base level, like that's kind of what we're supposed to do in a
Yeah.
sense. Right. And so this idea of having consciousness and being able to be aware of your thoughts and aware of your own being is like pretty crazy in general.
But I think that goes to show that we just have infinite power and capabilities. And I'm so grateful that, my autopilot just wants to be an animal, because once you push yourself outside of that, the reward is so good. But and this is what I always talk to people is
And the
like,
possibilities are limitless.
yeah, but if the because I'll talk to people and be like, well, if that's the case, why do we have to push outside? And it's like, because if you didn't have to make the choices to get outside of just being this animal, the reward wouldn't be as good. Because then now, back to your example, then you just be like the cat, that if you were already automatically programmed, this is just what it is, it's not as rewarding. And I think that's why we've evolved as the species that we are, that we have this dopamine and all these things of like when you do hard work, when you delay satis satisfaction.
Satisfaction.
There we go. I was thinking satisfaction. When you delay satisfaction, all these things, you get this huge chemical hit of like, wow, this feels good. This is addicting. And I think that's just goes to show that that's what we're really supposed to be doing, and where all the amazingness lies is when you get to consciously make your own choices every single day to decide who you really want to be, instead of living on this auto response that, yeah, if you want to do that, that could be a life for you. But once you start to choose everything that you're doing throughout the day, that's when, to me, you're tapped into the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, the infinite, and there's infinite possibilities and infinite things that you can actually have, do, achieve. I mean, people are doing it every single day. So,
Why do I actually I just thought of this question and I'm curious maybe what your thoughts are on it because I am like obsessed with this idea of personal development, right? Like my goal is to be almost unrecognizable year over year, right? Like
ooh,
next year, I want to be
that's
completely
powerful.
unrecognizable from the person that I am today. Obviously, in a better way. Like I want to grow, right? Um, but I want to be so much better next year that I literally wouldn't even recognize that if someone met me today and they met me 365 days from now, they'd be like, dude, you're a completely different person. Like, what the heck? And I meet so many people that they're the same person today that they were
Mhm.
in 10 years ago. They've, I mean, sure, they might have a different job or whatever. They might have a
That's a good
girlfriend
point.
now, but on a base level, they're the exact same person, right? And I'm so obsessed with personal development and working on myself and like I hate this idea when people say like no 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 like you're perfect the way you are,
Hmm.
you're totally fine. I'm like, no, like what the fuck? Like that's such horrible advice. Like you can be happy with who you are and completely unsatisfied at the same time. And I was just thinking about that yesterday. I'm like, I am very happy with who I am. I'm happy with what I have at the moment. I'm so grateful, but I'm not satisfied at all. Like there's so much more I could be. There's so much more I can achieve. I can get so much better as a person, just in everything, right? I can be so much more. I have so much untapped potential that I believe in myself, right? And so I'm so obsessed with this idea of personal development, each day, each week, each month, each year. And I truly don't understand why there aren't more people that have caught on to this. Like I don't understand why there are
Because it
like
takes,
like mass amounts of people that are just obsessed with working on themselves. Like I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. But I mean, it can go back to they're just stuck in this routine and habit. I mean, you want to call it matrix, whatever it is. Like they can't get out of it. And most people don't get out of their routine, their cycle. Like even, bro, I was even a victim of this. Like I was an engineer. What was it? I think it's like in my early 30s. And I was making like 100 and I think actually at that time I was making like 150,000, only working like 3 or 4 days a week. I had real estate, I had everything, and I was totally numb. And I had to get pain of having all this stuff to actually finally want to change. That when you are stuck in this cycle and you aren't thinking, and 95% of what you're doing is routine, you can't get out of it. And it's no different than like we all know that, hey, you want to be healthy, exercise, diet. How many people are doing it? No one. So, and we can go around, and I feel like that's what you and I are doing now. Like, I'll go to people like, there's so much more happiness on the other side. Like, you can be all these things and this, and they're just like, bro, like, I'm going back to my Doritos and Netflix is on. Like, I'm on my Instagram. It's so hard to kick those habits. So, I agree with you 100% that I I want to share it with so many people, and that's why I love to do coaching now. But at the same time, not everyone is at a place that they're ready. And I don't know if I was talking to you, but I was at a meditation retreat one time talking to the master, and I'm like, man, I just want to show everybody about love and compassion and how that's the answer and all this stuff. And like, how do you not force to change all these people or want to change them? He's like, it's their journey, not yours. It's not your place to change someone else's journey. You can only inspire people. And I think that's exactly what you're doing, brother, by you just having this energy. And I'm sure your friends that are around you, and they're going to see that Max is changing every single year. That is totally going to inspire them. I mean, think of the people you're watching on Instagram, whatever. Who are you looking at? You're looking at people that inspire you, right? So you get to be that for other people. And that's the only way you're going to change people is by inspiring them. So, and then going back to your thing, and I'm so glad you said this as far as wanting to change yourself. Like, I love myself more today than I ever have in my other 38 years of existence. I'm so proud of who I am, what I've done, what I've accomplished. Like, oh my God, like, I have so much love and happiness towards myself. But back to your point, it doesn't mean that that I know that there's so much more potential and that I can help so many more people and I can still grow and believe certain things and get better. And so I think it's totally true to be able to do both of those. And it's not a bad thing to continuously want to change because I think it's just a way of continuously getting better. And I think there's the saying, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
So I think there's a reason for that. Like a tree, I mean, a tree isn't like, you know what, I'm fine being this size. It's like every year, I'm gonna get bigger, I'm gonna get bigger, I'm gonna keep growing, I'm gonna keep growing. So, woof, man, that's good
Yeah.
stuff.
No, I love it, man. I love it.
All right.
100%.
Anything else?
Dude, I mean, not really on that topic, man. I think we covered quite a bit for for today especially, but no,
Uh,
man, like I said, I love it. And
it's
you
so
know,
awesome. Here's the other thing. And this is one thing I've noticed is going to people and showing up authentically vulnerable with as much excitement and energy as you have. Like I'll do this to other people and not everyone responds to it is what I'm obviously finding out. But to me it's kind of like real estate, anything. Like all the no's are worth it to find one yes. So for example, like when I go to my buddies and like I have buddies that, I went to college with and like they aren't on the same wavelength and they think I'm crazy and they're like, "What? You're giving up your six figs and all this?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's not worth it." Anyway, so talking to them, talking to my family and all this, like all this woo woo and happiness and unlimited potential, they're just like, dude, you're crazy. And it's like, oh, a little so discouraging. But then when you find someone like yourself, Max, or someone like Raphael or whoever, like when you find these people that align, like it's like a cosmic energy almost. Like I always just feel like, whoa, this is the purpose. Like all those no's were necessary because when you do find that one that they do understand and they want to drink the Kool-Aid with you, it's just like it makes it even more. It's almost similar to like the whole dopamine thing of like every time you do something, you don't always get a reward. Sometimes by having that delayed reward makes it worth it so much more.
yeah, yeah, 100%. I 100% know what you mean because it's so it can be really hard, especially in my age
Isolating.
as well, to find people that are open to that and are ready for that. It's so refreshing to me when I get to have these kind of conversations. Like it literally gives me energy because I'm like, yes, like finally I can talk about this and someone gets it, like someone understands because I try to, you know, I meet so many people that I'm a people person. Like I love people.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I don't, but for the most part, I love people. I love helping people, and it's like sometimes I meet these people, and I'm like, man, like you're such a wonderful person, but there's
Yeah.
so much that you're missing, and I want to like shake it into them. I'm like, you can be more. Like there's so much more on the other side, and they're just like, it's like they have a brick wall. They just like, they're just like, no.
Yeah.
I've
But
like
that's how
too
you
much
do it
like
is by
instant gratification.
inspiring
And I'm like,
them, by
ah,
doing what you're doing and loving them for where they're at. Because I mean, I'm sure this is what I love about compassion is like, think about yourself, 5 years ago, you were that same person. I mean, I don't know where you were at, but I'm assuming that 5 years ago, you weren't as elevated as what you are today. So it's like have that compassion that they're on their own journey and they get to choose and just love them. Like, have you ever read Law of Attraction?
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh my
sure.
God, I love that. Like, I always tell people, like, I got to do a post of it. My three books
I think I actually have it like
are the physical. Have you listened? I
there
like the physical to really understand stuff, but I love the audio too. But my three books, that I always tell people that be like, oh, where do I start? Whatever. And my first is actually for like living on this earth, being here with other species is living with the Tao. by Ilchi Lee is phenomenal. It's kind of like the Bible. It's like talking about how to be a good person, how to love other people, and that there's unlimited energy and that we're not real. We're just energy on this planet at this moment, but then we get to leave. Anyway, so that's the first one because once you understand your kind of purpose here, how you exist, then I love the law of attraction that there's infinite possibilities. And I what I love about the law of attraction too is when I think it's the third chapter that they talk about the art of allowing, and you love people even though they aren't doing what you agree with. You allow people to live their life the way that they've chose or that where they're at, and you just keep focusing on what you want, and you're happy with them for being where they're at. And then my last one is self-driven child, which I love that because it teaches like how to motivate children and all this other stuff. But what's good about it is it's so good at teaching you how to communicate with children. And essentially, children are just the exact same as adults. So I used everything from the self-driven child to like how to motivate, how to all of that. It's like it's the same thing that you do for adults because most of us are just overgrown 7 or 8 year olds. Like our habits that we've developed and our personality traits and how we respond to anger, how we respond to frustration, how we respond to all these things were predetermined when we're 7 or 8, like all these core memories that got defined. So now we just are these behavioral patterns from a 7 or 8 year old. So anyway,
Wow. That's
that's
no, dude.
literally the 3 books, and you could be set for life.
I'm so happy you brought that up because I've heard of the other two books, but I haven't heard of Self-Driven Child before.
Oh,
And
but your communication's good.
I'm-
You don't really need it, but it just helps you understand like how
no,
to
but
enforce
actually
them.
because when you were talking about it talks like how to communicate with children and stuff. I'm still gonna read that, and I have some people in mind that might benefit from that as well. So
Everybody.
I'm super happy that you brought that up. And,
Oh,
um, I think that could be a really valuable book anyways, because I think Jordan Peterson talks about like the magic of children and
they're
reinstilling that
everything.
like happiness and life that children bring. And they reinvigorate your love of old things, and they make old things seem new again because everything is new to a child, right?
Yeah.
Like they have um that just like that childlike innocence of
Yeah.
discovering everything
Well,
in the
because
world, and
to
it helps you rediscover it as well. And so I think yeah, I'm looking I'm that's gonna go on the Amazon purchase list here in a minute.
yeah, and what I love about what you're saying about children, like that's how my whole stuff happened as soon as I had kids, and I got to see the sense of awe and wonderment and happiness on a daily basis. And I was like, I want that. Like, why can't I was that at one point? Why
Yeah,
did
where
it
did we
go
go
away?
wrong? Where did we
Yeah.
lose?
Yeah. Society, behavioral patterns, all these things, the core memories that get to define who you are and what your perception of how you see things. What is it? What your personality is your personal reality. I love that one.
Ooh, that's
So as soon as you start to change your personality, now your reality is totally different. Like my reality of what I know is possible and what I can achieve now is totally different than who I was, even just 3 years ago. Um, but so being around children, getting to see that innocence. But what I think my biggest takeaway from children, this is what I try to do to myself on a daily basis as well, is they are curious about everything. They have no certainty, no certainty. So I try to employ that to myself on a daily basis of as soon as you're certain, the only thing that you're certain is you'll stay the same. Like if
ooh,
I know the answer to this, if I know, like if someone's like, hey, this book talks about if you eat frogs, whatever, you'll see this thing and you'll talk to God and all this. And I'm like, no, I'm certain that won't work. But what if they brought it to me? I'm like, I'm curious. Let me find out more. Like it just opens up so much more possibilities. And that's to me where you get into this infinite power, infinite cosmic energy stuff that there's just so much out there that you totally restrict yourself when you are trying to be certain. And I think that's why kids are so beautiful, so happy because everything is just so amazing because they're so curious.
Yeah, dude, oh man, that is like that's such a good talk track too. I mean, just everything you said with, just being certain about things that you truly have no that you actually like may not be certain about at all. And then I
And we
love,
don't. No one can be certain about anything.
yeah, oh, and so many people are just they're so stuck in their ways, they're so closed-minded, they're so closed off to new ideas and new thoughts that it's just like, how do you ever expect to go anywhere or change in life when you can't even look outside of what you already have? Like,
Yeah.
and I love, you probably didn't even catch it, but I did. You said a little phrase that really stuck out to me. You said, "What if?" And I love that phrase because it's like, what if you don't know what you thought you knew? What if you tried it and it did work out? What if you, you could say, you could apply what if to anything. It's like, oh, I'm tired today, but what if I got up now anyways? What if
Mm,
I just took that cold shower now? Um, what if instead of eating the donut, I did eat a salad? What if you can apply it to anything? And I love that, right? And you also talked a little bit about like some of this like cosmic energy and stuff. And I've also been getting really in, and you also brought up like law of attraction, but I've been getting really, really into this idea of just like vibrations and the thoughts and the words that you put out into the world. And like you said, like so many people are like, oh, like that's woo woo, like that can't be real, whatever. It's like, how the hell do you know? Like,
yeah.
do you actually know how insane our world is? Like, it is so ridiculous.
But here's,
Everything that we see on planet Earth is made out of the same thing. We are all atoms floating around in space. Like me as a human, my brain is all made up of these little vibrating atoms.
yeah.
The book that I write on is made out of the same little vibrating atoms. They're just vibrating at different frequencies.
And they
Like,
don't think that's insane and that's magical. Like, I don't understand how people wouldn't think woo woo and energy and all this stuff doesn't exist when there's so much insanity already going on. But here's the craziest thing is people are like, no, I'm certain that's not true or whatever. And I'm like, do you know how your digestion tract works? Do you know how many times a minute your heart beats? Do you understand how gravity actually works? Oh no, I have no idea. But you're okay with that.
yeah.
Why
But
aren't
you're
you?
certain,
Yeah.
you know for a fact,
But
like,
now you're telling me all of a sudden that this other thing, you're certain it doesn't exist and you can't accept that, but you can accept to live on a daily basis knowing all these things that you don't actually understand. So maybe these other things are the same thing. Like maybe we just don't understand it, but it still exists. Like there was a time that gravity, no one understood what gravity really was. It was like, oh, I just drop a pen and it falls, but no one understood why. And even to this day, we still don't understand all the ideas of gravity, like why it's actually there. We have theories and all this. So, what about this woo woo? What if one day we're like, oh my gosh, can you believe the day that they used to not believe that there is this cosmic energy and this vibrational stuff? Like, that's crazy that they didn't understand this.
and also like it because we only have a reference experience for our lifespan, we don't even realize that we just found out about gravity like not that freaking long
Yeah.
ago. Like we're really just discovering all this stuff when it comes to, the time span of the earth and all these other things. It's like we've been here for such a
Yeah.
minute amount of time. Like we're so dumb we don't even realize
Yeah.
how dumb we
I
are. Like
mean, what dinosaurs
so
were
smart.
here for, and I love, I forgot, I'm gonna butcher it so no one yell at me, but I remember reading books with my kids of like dinosaurs were here for like, I want to say like 17 or 20 million years is how long they existed on this planet. And we've only been here for what? I think it's like under 2 million or something. Like maybe it's not even millions. I'm gonna destroy it, but it's like a blip, like we haven't even been here for anything. And we think we understand. Again, we're back to this stupid idea that we're so certain we understand and
Yeah.
we know. But the reasons why people want this, and this is at least my opinion, why so many people want this certainty is because it's safe. Now they feel like they're in control. but what if you don't need to be in control? Like there's so
Yeah.
much more. And I
Yeah.
who was it that I was talking to? I was talking to someone. Oh, I think it was Dustin on a interview that I was so strict on my discipline, on my schedule. Used to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, do all these things, and I was very robotic. And I did it because I thought that that was allowing me to be in control and all these things. But him and I were talking that now that him and I are older, like he wakes up at like 7 now. And I wake up at 7 now instead of like at 4 in the morning. And I don't have everything like perfectly organized and all this. And by not having that crazy regimented and just letting things kind of happen and there's more flow, I feel so much more in control. It's crazy by letting go. Like now I actually feel like I'm in so much control of my life.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
anyway,
love too, it's like, you know, I'll try to talk to some people about, law of attraction kind of stuff, like vibration stuff, trying to almost like change the frequencies that you're thinking about or change the things that you're thinking or speak things into existence. And you get a lot of these, same kind of like, oh, like woo woo, like that's bullshit, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but okay, what if it's true? And if it's true and you're not doing it, then you're completely missing out on something, right? But then on the
what do you
flip side,
have to lose? You can go back to your old ways like in a month. And I always tell people that, like, just try this, stay open minded. You can go back to doing your boring, miserable, where you're sad, depressed, you feel like you're not in control in another month. Like, you're not losing anything.
well, the other like the other thing that makes me laugh is I'm like, I don't even care if it's true or not. I don't even care if it's real or not. If you go through life thinking like, oh, I'm lazy, oh, I can't get in shape, oh, money's too hard to come by, oh, I can never do that. And then if you switch your mindset and you think like, I'm going to improve every year, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm happy, money flows to me, whether it's true or not, is your life going to be better or worse if you go through life thinking, I'm happy, I love everybody, money flows to me, I'm positive, good things happen to me, I have good luck?
Yeah.
Like, your life is not going to be worse
Yeah.
ever if
Yeah.
you go through life thinking positive things, giving out positive energy. Who cares if it's real or not? Who cares if it works? If it makes you feel better, like there's no negative that can come from thinking positive, putting out good vibrations. There's only the possibility of better things happening. And that's absolutely what I've noticed in life. It's like I even more so now lately, like I think I've always had a pretty like positive mindset, but I was always maybe like a little bit too self-conscious to like speak
Mm,
more things into existence or to actually like speak positively about myself as
right.
well. And that's really like the one of the things that I've changed the most, I think, over the last maybe like even the most like recent time, like the last 2, 3, 4 months or so. I've really started speaking more highly about myself when people ask me about myself. I'm like,
Mm,
no, like like I am going to be rich. Like I am a positive person. Like good things do happen to me. And just even doing that, it kind of changes something in yourself where it's like I am happier with who I am now. Like I'm not as I think in the past, like where I said earlier, it's like I'm happy with who I am, but I know I can be better. I think in the past I was missing the I'm happy with who I am now
yeah.
part. I was
Yeah.
so focused.
You were so focused on the future, you didn't know how to be present.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And
That happens.
I think so many people are like, they talk down on themselves or they're only thinking about the negative aspects of themselves. And it's like your life truly is never going to be worse if you go through life thinking that you're already the person that you could become, right? And I think it's like obviously you have to separate it out. Like you can't get too egotistical, right? But it's like if you're truly certain about the path that you're on, even if you're not there yet, like there's nothing fake about belief. Like if you believe you're the fucking man, you might not be the man yet, but it's inside you. So you can still believe that and talk that as long as you're as long as your actions support,
Align. Yeah.
right? A lot, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this is where a lot of people get turned off and they're like, oh, like especially law of attraction. I get a lot of people, oh, or the secret. I think the secret came after, but it's all essentially based off of the law of attraction. And I love how detailed the law of attraction is versus the secret. But anyway, what I was gonna say is all these people with this woo-woo and just manifestation and all that, they're like, oh, that stuff is BS. Like you can't just think stuff. It's like, well, you think it, and when you think it, it gives you energy, and that energy gives you motivation to do something. It's not
Yes.
just sitting and praying and being like, oh, I can't wait till I'm rich, but I'm just gonna stay in the closet for 30 years of my life. Like it doesn't necessarily work like that. Like you have to put some energy out, but by thinking these things, it's going to motivate you, make you start believing. And that's the biggest thing that I've noticed in my life is you can think these things and believe it, but until you get faith, like the faith is the hardest part, I feel like, because it's so easy for me to tell clients or other people, sit and let's visualize, let's think about these things, but do you actually believe, do you actually have faith that this is possible? And most of us aren't faith based, that we can't agree of anything until we see it, and that's where, or until they understand it. And that's why I love to always use the human body of being like, okay, well, do you know how your digestion system works? Do you know how your immune system works? But you don't ever question that. And you're
Yeah.
okay with that. You're okay if you eat food, it's gonna come out as shit later. Like you aren't freaking out about that. But here I am imposing this other thing. Like you just have faith that when I eat food, it's gonna come out. Like it's gonna do its thing. You have faith that the body's gonna, keep you alive. You have faith that when you go to sleep, you're gonna wake up the next day. 100%. No one goes to sleep terrified. I mean, there's probably people that have conditions, but I bet you like 99% of the population, they go to sleep, they have faith they're gonna wake up the next day. So I'm always challenging, like, you have faith in so many things of your life. Like, let's use some of those to try to have faith in this thing. So anyway,
Yeah.
woo,
I love it, man.
that was awesome. All right, I'm gonna pause it out. Appreciate you, bro.
Dude, I love it, man. I'm always here for this.